All right, I would like to introduce Miss Emily. Her sobriety date is October 31st, 2023. Miss Emily, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Christy, and thank you, everybody. I'm an alcoholic, and my problem is Emily. I'm really grateful to be sober today. I'm really grateful to be here. Extremely honored to be able to come in and just share my experience, strength, and hope, where I've been, what happened, and kind of like what I'm doing now. So I'm trying to get my phone set up here again. Sorry. Okay. So I'm going to start, obviously, with when I was younger, when it all really kind of began. First of all, I come from a loving family, mother and father that both worked very hard. I am a rainbow child, which means that my parents had lost a child before me. So he was 3 and he had cancer. My parents, then they had me. And I have a younger brother, and we all grew up together. Even we grew up together. My brother did with my dad and my mom. And when I hit about 9 years old, they got a divorce. They never argued or anything like that in front of us. Never seen anything. Nothing was ever going on. It was pretty good. But then they got the divorce, and my dad, he left, and it's just me and my mom and my brother, and it went pretty good for a little while, but I started just saying I wanted to be with my mom, and kind of grew a resentment for my father pretty young, I guess. And but he didn't stay gone very long. He had another girlfriend. She had a son. They ended up getting married. My mother she was a registered nurse. So, she handled stuff pretty well, for the most part. She always had a job and stuff, and I would stay with her. But my mom would, she'd party a lot. And this is the first time I started seeing like alcohol and actual partying. She always had younger people that would come over after she got off of work or whatever. I'd stay in the basement, and I'd hear them and stuff. And one night I went up there, and I took my first drink, and it was Heaven Hill whiskey. That's when I started drinking. Then it was just kind of occasionally, but just whenever I could. I was probably about 12 years old, 11, 12 years old. My father, he was much different. It was much different over at his house. I had a stepmother structure. We would go on vacations. We done really cool things. But I started acting up, but where my parents were split up, my dad was real strict. My mom wasn't. So I would go over to my mom's house and just do whatever the hell I wanted to. And my dad, he didn't. I didn't want to be there. So my dad ended up kind of giving me to the state. I got pretty wild, and I was court ordered. Ended up getting court ordered away from my mother because we was partying and stuff, having a good time. I thought, and I ended up getting put in drug court because I liked to drink and smoke pot and skip school a lot. So I was in teen drug court. I went to jail a lot. I went to juvenile hall a lot. In the juvenile hall, we had to ask to use the bathroom and stuff like that, or we're allowed to sit on the bed all day or watch TV or nothing like that. It wasn't no fun, so that made me not want to go back to jail. I just want to say that. But anyways, I was in drug court. I started getting drug tested 3 times a week. I was going to court every Tuesday. We had many classes we would have to do, etiquette classes, community service work. We would go to jail. If you were failing drug test, you're going to jail, you know. And then they started alcohol testing. And that's when things started getting a little rough for me, I guess. I started going to rehab and stuff. I went to my first rehab when I was 14 years old. I stayed for the whole program. I was there for 28 days. It was called Rivendell. It was in Greensboro, Kentucky. That was my very first rehab. And since then, I've been to quite a few rehabs. Lots of mental institutions. There was a lot of institutions and stuff I had to go to too, also. The divorce, I'm sorry, I kind of slip back and forth here. I'm an alcoholic, and so I went to institutions a lot, and rehab and jail. I mean, it was just one after another, one after another. I was always wanting more. I was already wanting more, anyways. I was in drug court, for 3 years. I was in drug court. I never graduated. As a matter of fact, I've never actually graduated anything. But I ended up getting married and moving on to a military base with my husband, and the partying started to get pretty wild there. He was overseas. He went overseas, and yeah. Sorry, you guys. He went overseas. Like I met him when I was 15. Okay, and we drank and partied all the time. Well, but when he was gone, I would drink and cheat with other people on the base. Ended up getting kicked out of the family's base, the house, lost everything. So that was when I was 18. I come back home. I wasn't able to go back to my father's house. When I turned 18, he had told me to get out. And then, so I went back to my mom's house, started doing, just started partying with her. Nobody cared over there, nobody cared. But I wanted to be around my mom. I loved her very much. I love her. I love my mother so much. And anyways, I went to my first AA meeting when I was in drug court, actually. I'm so sorry. This is a terrible recording. Went to my first AA meeting. I kind of showed, I had to go to get papers signed. That was it. All right. I had to go to AA meetings to get the paper signed. That's the only reason I was going. Yeah, that wasn't nothing to do with that. I was too worried about getting high and stuff, too drunk. I was so just defiant to everything in the world. I liked rock and roll. I still like rock and roll. So there's nothing against rock and roll music, but I liked sex, drugs, and rock and roll. That's what I liked. I liked pain. All the time. I always was causing pain to myself. Hurt myself a lot. I would always think, oh man, I'm just hurting myself. I'm just hurting myself, Anyways, a little bit, let's fast forward here. First time I tried another new drug for me was cocaine when I was 25. No, I'm not either. I got to go back to when I was 19. I had a daughter. I'm so sorry, you guys. I should have wrote this shit down. I had my first daughter when I was 20 years old. I stayed sober the entire time. It's the first time I stayed sober. A sober pregnancy went really good. After I had my child, I had postpartum depression a little bit. I drank. I really liked vodka and screwdrivers. I like vodka and orange juice, and I had liked them since I was a teenager. I loved them, especially when my guy was gone. I drank it all the time. It was my favorite. Or Heaven Hill whiskey. It was what I liked. Never liked the beer and stuff. I'd cook with beer, but I like that hard liquor. It's the reason I've been kind of struggling a little bit right now is because I've been watching my mother suffer right now. So I'll get to that. But when I went to my first Alcoholics Anonymous meeting that I wanted to go to, I had went in there, you guys, just with like hair dye and stuff all down my face, and they welcomed me with love and stuff. It was a wonderful thing. I didn't take it very seriously though. No, I was like, this isn't what I want. They keep talking about the steps. I'm out. I'm too worried about it. I got my kids and stuff. So I stayed out of the AA for a while again. Partied. This time I had my own place and stuff, and I'm having people over. We're rocking. I'm sending my baby over to our grandparents' house so I can party. Anyways, when my daughter hit about 5 years old, is when I got pregnant. I had another child. I was pregnant with another girl. And this is with a different man. Both of my children have different fathers. And after I had Grace, I had something called postpartum psychosis. I had some really bad depression. A lot of people have mental disorders and stuff, and I did, and I wanted to like hurt my children and stuff. So I ended up making a phone call, and I was also drinking at the time too, and it got really bad. Anyway, so I ended up trying out cocaine with a friend. I've done cocaine for a really long time. Then I tried heroin immediately, like, I don't know, 2 months after I tried cocaine. Really, I was right back. I was right into heroin immediately. I started prostituting. I sent my oldest daughter away because I didn't want her to see what was going on. I just didn't want her to watch it, see how terrible I was, what I was doing. My baby didn't know what was going on. I could just lay her down, I thought, And then I was introduced to, like needles and stuff. Started doing that. And that's when everything really started to crash for me. I lost my house. My dad, that was the first time my dad, he had came over and, he got my daughter. I'll never forget this. He took her right out of my arms. I was holding her, and he just took her right out of my arms. He was like, I'm going to take her. I'm going to save her life by taking her away from you, and I'm not going to call the police, and I'm not going to do anything like that. I'm going to give you an opportunity to work and get your child back. And that was, yeah, 7 years ago. Okay. 7 years ago. Well, I ended up getting detoxing off of that heroin. I went to a detox. The detox gave me like a PTSD. It was so bad. I'll never forget it. My legs were kicking up and down. There was a doctor and a student there because it was at Eastern State Hospital in Lexington. It's a student place, so they go around and show the students and stuff. I just remember that. I remember they were like, this is what happens when you're coming off of heroin. And I was like, oh my God, I never want to do this again. I fought off the heroin for a little while, but I made it. I ended up using heroin for probably about 2 years, really hard. Because that wasn't enough. That wasn't enough. Like him taking my kid away, me losing my house, all that was okay with me. I was all right with that. Whatever. And then I ended up, I ended up on the streets right after that. I got a storage unit, lived on the street. Anytime I'd want something, I'd go up to my storage unit and change my clothes. I would just sleep wherever I could, if I could sleep, And my life just got really out of control, you guys. I went to an HA meeting. I've been to NA meetings. But HA is Heroin Anonymous. I've been to Cocaine Anonymous. I ended up going to a couple more rehabs, a few of them. I still wasn't done yet, though. I wasn't done. I would tell people I'm done, and I wasn't. Then I started getting into meetings. I started going to meetings again. I was hearing about the 90 and 90, so I would do that. I would do that for a little while. I'd go to meetings for 90 days. But they were in-person meetings, so I was also looking for other things too as well, like 13th step. And that's whenever you going around looking for somebody to mess around with in an AA meeting, or one of those anonymous meetings. And let's just say I tried to use AA for all the wrong reasons. I'm telling you, I would. I'd go in there and they'd be like, well, have you been doing your steps? Have you talked to your sponsor? I was like, look, I went to school and I didn't graduate. I don't want to do no fucking steps. I am not answering anybody's questions. It's none of your business. And I'm an alcoholic. What else? And I was just like that. It was just how it was, I don't want to do this shit. Anyways, the people, a lot of people, they would say to me, Emily, you've got to get a sponsor. You've got to do the steps. You're going to keep relapsing. You're going to keep relapsing. And one day you're not going to make it in here. That was one of the last times one of them said to me, somebody walked up to me, grabbed me by my shoulders and said, you're not going to make it back. People are dying left and right from this disease every day. And it comes in different forms. It just so happens that alcohol, for me, is pretty deadly. When I pick up a drink, I like to, I start drink, snorting, smoking, snorting, and shooting anything I can. Just all of it. Anything. I'll do all the worst I can. And it's really important for me to have to come to these meetings and do the steps. I ended up getting a sponsor. Actually, I went through a few sponsors. I'd get to my fourth step with them and then I'd run. Okay, I dropped my fourth step. I'm done. Oh, it's time for my fourth step. I'm done. I don't even want to talk to you anymore. Oh, my first step. Ooh. Um, I ended up, I had to tell myself that I had to figure it out, that I was powerless over alcohol, that I was powerless over all of it. I was powerless over the decisions I was making daily. I was just like, man, I ended up just kind of folding down to my knees and just saying, God, if you're there, hear me cry. I can't do this anymore. You know. So I'm actually pretty scattered today, and I'm really sorry about that. I'm not really going to like this recording, I don't think. Um, um, I'll just tell you what I do now. Okay. Now when I first came into this new spiritual family group, I came into this group 2 years ago, and I found a sponsor in here. I started listening to the people that were really in here that were like, you really got to get you a sponsor, you know. And I liked how cool they were, and I kind of wanted to be cool like that too. Anyways, I got a sponsor online here. We worked well for a while. Uh, some personal things happened, I guess. I'm not sure, but it just didn't work out. But that sponsor was really good with me. Anyways, fast forward a little bit, I ended up getting a sponsor in person, and she laid it out there to me exactly how I needed to hear it. She told me that if I wanted to do my steps, that I would call her. So we scheduled a date. Every Wednesday, I call her. This was a woman I didn't know. She had just moved here from California. She's a Cali girl in this little bitty old town where people talk like this. I was like, oh man. Because here in my town, there's not a lot of women here. There's not recovery. There's recovery now. A lot of it's like NA and people that just honestly, truly just aren't doing the traditional way, you know. Um, just a little bit different. It's run a little bit different, I guess. And so I really like it in here, There's a lot of old timers and people that want the solution. So I come here every single day. But with my sponsor, I do step work when it's needed. We have gone through the steps one time successfully, but I continuously do them every day. Truly. I mean, every day I have to wake up and tell myself that I am powerless to alcohol and pretty much anything that's going on throughout the day. I do try to practice these principles in all of my affairs. I have been really scrambled today, and I apologize for that. So I wanted to finish up about my mother, but I kind of just feel bad about it. My mother, she didn't make it back into the rooms. And when she used to come to AA with me and stuff, okay, and she used to come in this room with me, but my mother suffered a really bad stroke, and now she's paralyzed, and she can't talk, she can't do anything. I watched the disease kill her, and I'm pretty sure last time I shared, she was here. So I'm just really grateful to be sober today. I'm really grateful that today I get to go to the hospital or the nursing home and see my mom and help make decisions and stuff. Um, After I got a sponsor, though, I was staying with my father. I ended up living with my father, roommating with my daughter, my youngest daughter. She was living with my father for 2 years. I lived like that in a bunk bed, and about 3 months ago, I got my very first place again. This time I'm sober. This time I work a program, and this time I'm doing exactly as these people in AA told me to do. I followed the directions. Instead of throwing the box away and reading the instructions, throwing it together the way I think it should taste and smell, I let them help me make it. It's not perfect, obviously. I couldn't even get this share out all the way. It's not going to be done perfectly, but I will tell you this. In spite of everything that I've done, all of the terrible things I've done, some of the terrible things that sounds like other people might have done in my life as well. We all went through traumas and things that happen in life, and I wouldn't hold that against anybody anymore. And I know that. If there's a problem that I can't handle, then it's time for me to just really look in the mirror and focus on what I can change in me. And that's what Alcoholics Anonymous gives me, that option. Every day I pray to my God and ask Him to take my will, do with it what He will. And I keep in recovery. I come to these meetings every day the best I can. I have my daughters, they have their own beds here in their house. This is their world. I just live in it. My children do not use, I do not use with my children. One day, if they do get the decision and the opportunity to use, I would hope that they could feel safe and come to me, and we'll be able to discuss that. Like I said, I'm kind of sorry that this was really scattered and stuff today. I know that there's a little bit more stuff I probably could have said. I will tell you this, to just keep coming back. If this didn't make any sense to you, to just keep coming back to Alcoholics Anonymous, and it makes sense to you. And it took me just like scattered throughout the years to come in and out, in and out. But guess what? No matter what color hair I had, what markings I had on my body, who was with me or who I was with or who I wasn't with, they always welcomed me in with loving arms. I love Alcoholics Anonymous, and I love my God. I love my higher power. If I could talk about my testimony in that, it'd get pretty wild, to be honest with you, but I'm not going to do that because this is about alcoholism purely. So I just know that, knowing that I have a higher power that loves me, and that in spite of everything that I've done in my life, He allows me to live. There has been overdoses also in my life. A few overdoses. The last one, I have epilepsy, because also when I was 15, I thought that it would be a really good idea to take a bunch of dextromethorphan and cold and cough medication, and it ended up giving me epilepsy. So it messed up the front left lobe of my brain because I wanted to get high. I thought that was really cool, and it wasn't. So now today, for that, I can't drive. There's a lot of things I can't do, and blah, 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 because I thought I wanted to get high. But I actually haven't had a seizure since I've been sober from actual alcohol. I haven't had a drop of alcohol in 2 years. I haven't had a drink of alcohol in 2 years. So, but The other stuff was just like alcohol. I can turn anything into it because I'm an addict. It's why I have to stay so on top of prayer, meditation, uh, fellowship, unity with AA. I reach out today. I can't be by myself. If I'm sitting by myself, I'll think of some crazy shit to do. I'll think of some really crazy shit to do. I'll be like, well, this is nobody knows. Nobody will know, right? Oh, yeah. I know. The only person I'm fooling is me. That's it. The only problem is me. I'm just an alcoholic, but I'm the problem. I'm telling you. And for me to get up and admit that every day and come and do this, man, it makes me a good mom. It makes me a good friend. It makes me an asset to the community. Alcoholics Anonymous has given me like these wings that I never knew existed. I used to be like a bad mom. I was a bad mom, man. It's just what it is. But there's redemption. You get this opportunity today. Congratulations if you're here. You get to start. Oh, it's great. Man, my home is so cute. I would have never got this if I wouldn't have came to Alcoholics Anonymous. I went to rehab. I went to jail. I went to institutions. I told people I was sober, or I would tell, it's like, I'm going to rehab, guys. Yay. I had to get the book, the Alcoholics Anonymous book, crack it open, and read it with somebody again for the millionth time, but not by myself. My sponsor, and we read every word for word. Hell, I went through and underlined every must in the book. Must do this. Must do this. Anyways, I know this share was very scattered, you guys. I appreciate you all that are still here. You must really want to be sober. And I tell you what, if you keep just like staying sober for a few days, and then you do it again, and you stay sober for a few days, and then you do it again, you're not the only one. And it can be done. You don't have to live like that today. You don't have to ever feel like that again. Never. I would get so mad when people would tell me that every time I'd get sober. You don't never have to feel like this again. They were right. And another thing that they would say to me is more will be revealed. And it will. And it does. And when it does, man, you got to be working the steps, because not just using, I have to be doing stuff like that too. I have to be learned. Like right now, I'm learning about the traditions. It's never done. I'm never going to graduate this program. And I'm okay with that, because guess what? I'm not very good at graduating shit. Period. Obviously, I got a pretty good track record of it. So this is the perfect program for me. I'm hoping that it'll give me opportunities to want to be more successful with my life. But for today, I get to keep doing these steps, and they don't have to be perfect. And I know that if anything ever happens, I can always come back here. I'll always be here. I'll always come back. I try to walk in the light of the spirit every single day, best I can. What I got. I love Alcoholics Anonymous. It saved my life. So I do want to say just real quick, I pray for the people that's gonna pick up for the first time today, and the ones that's gonna lay it down for the very last time today. It's very important to me. I say that every day. And yeah, I'm desperate for my God's love and for sobriety. So I come back every day, and I'm going to keep coming back every day. Thank you, Alcoholics Anonymous.